So in this lesson, we are going to be looking at string methods, and string methods allow us to do stuff with strings. So just as we saw with arrays, the string methods allow us to select content from the string values. So you can select the items using their index value. So zero based, just like arrays, first character within the string is going to have an index of 0, and you can retrieve back the content, the letter, from the word. There's also ways to conform it to uppercase and transform it to lowercase. We're going to be creating a custom function that's going to capitalize the words using various string methods and array methods in order to split the string into an array and then loop through the array items, which are going to be each one of the words that we have that we've passed into the function, and then we're joining them back together using the join method, which is going to convert it back into a string. There's also substring and slice. So these methods allow us to return back part of the string content. There's a replace and a replace all. So replace all allows us to replace the character that we're looking for with a new character value. And then there's the selecting and getting the index value of a particular selection that we're looking for within the string. And you can also chain together the different methods in order to return back the results. So in this case, some of the letters are uppercase, some are lowercase, and we don't want to be searching, we don't want to be case specific. So converting everything to lowercase and then doing the search on the lowercase characters is going to return back the result. So even if it's uppercase or lowercase, it's not going to be case sensitive when we're returning back the result from the search and from the index values. Let's go ahead and create some strings. I'm going to use the template literals, so that's using the backtick, and that's to the left of the 1 key on most keyboards. So these are a couple strings that are created using the backticks, and using these we can also create a full name variable and bring the two values in that we have from the other twos. And using the template literals actually provides us a more readable format when we are creating strings and interacting with the content of those. So now if we were to log out the result for full name, we'll see that it's a combination of both of those values. We can also, within the template literals, we can use the JavaScript code by selecting the $ and then the curly bracket, and then the code that's in between here, this is just regular JavaScript. So the result for this value, for the value of val, will be the calculated value from 4 plus 5 plus 6. Just as we saw with the full name, we can bring content in to our values. You can also have multiple line strings. Instead of having to have only the single line when we're using the single or the double quotes, this is another advantage to using the template literals, and then when we output it within the console, it's going to still have all of the spacing that we've set out within the variable. So string methods help us work with strings, and strings also, just as we saw with the arrays, they do have a length. So if we want to get the length of all of the characters within full name, we can output the length using the length property. And the same way that we saw that working with the arrays, that will give us the number of items, and in this case the number of characters that we have available within the string. There's also similar methods that we saw within the array where we can get a part of the string, so returning back a part of the string using a slice method and creating different values that we're going to be outputting. And we'll just console log out the result for val and make an update to val using the slice and setting the starting value, so the starting point, and this is also 0 based. So if we want to get the first 8 characters, we could start it at 0 and end at 7, and then we just need to indicate what the string is, which string is that we're using. And that will return back all of those characters starting at 0 and ending just before 7. So if we want to include 7, we have to end the slice at 8, and that's going to return back the first 8 characters that are within the full name string and output that as the value of val. the first position is 0, the second position is 1, just as we saw with arrays when we're doing that selection. You can also slice a negative, and that's going to take the end value off of the string. So if we want to, we could select a starting value of -5, and that will start from the end of the string and go back 5 characters. So it's going to return back the last 5 characters of the string when we're using the negative value. You can use substring in order to return part of the string between the start and the end indexes, or to the end of the string. So similar to what we just saw with slice. So if we set the value and we take the initial string, and using the substring method, it requires parameters. So we can either start with the starting value, and let's return back the value starting at 1, ending at 8. So it's going to be similar to what we just saw with the slice. And if we want to get the first 8 characters, it would be the same where we've got the starting and ending. We're not able to put negative values into the substring, so that makes it different than what we can do with slice. And the same way that we can do with the slice, we can also take the substring and have only just the 1 character within the arguments, and that will return back the remainder of the string value. So starting at index number 9, which is just my last name, that's going to be returned back. There's also string methods where we can convert the string content and take the string value of full name all to lowercase. There's a value there for that where we can convert it all to lowercase. So it's going to convert it into lowercase. You can also convert it into uppercase. So that's another option. When you are selecting the strings, you can update them as uppercase. There's also a replace value that you can replace content within the string. So let's select the value of val and using the full name and do a replace. And so what replace will do is it will select using the first argument, replacing it with the second argument. So if we want to replace all of the e's in the string, we select it by E and then update that, replace it with, and I'm just going to replace it with an X. And notice it only caught the first value, and that's where we can also use the replace all if we want to select all of the matching results. So replace all is going to actually replace all of the results, whereas replace just only replaces the first instance that it finds. We saw that it has the 2 uppercase and 2 lowercase, but it doesn't have a way to capitalize the word. So in case the word is not capitalized, so let's make an update to the string values, and we'll make it all lowercase. And then what we want to do is we want to capitalize that result. So we need to make a custom function that can capitalize the word. And the function, so capitalize word, it's going to be expecting the word to capitalize the word. Let's select out the first character. And within the word, we can use the index value of the character in order to select that first character. So let's pass in the value of cap word and send in the full name in order to capitalize it. And then we're going to return back the results. So we'll do a return right now of whatever the word is that was sent in. And the word that we're going to be using is going to be the string value of full name. So save that, and we see that we get the first letter is L, but this doesn't account for the fact that we want to select both of those words, and we want to loop through both of those words. So we need to do a split, and splitting the content into an array. So let's create an array, and using the words, and this should actually be words, and then the split, and we're splitting it by space. So that will create an array of both of the words that we have, and we'll output that into the console. So now we've got an array of both of the words. Let's loop through the array, so using the for each, and return back each one of the words. And for the word, we want to select whatever the first character is on each of the words, because we need to uppercase them. So selecting it using the index of 0, and that will output both of those words. into the console. So right now it's still, and it actually needs to be word instead of using the array. So that's going to return back the L and the S. So those are the first characters. And we want to convert those to uppercase method. So we can convert those to uppercase. So we want to rebuild the content of the array and creating a temporary array that we can use. And this is going to be the new updated word, and then eventually we'll return back that updated word. We can take the temp and bring it together using the join method and joining it with the space. So we split it into an array, so split a string into an array, and then later on we're going to joining it back into a string and returning it back to be used for the variable value of val. So as we loop through, we're going to select each one of the first letters and then remove out the remaining word. So selecting the word, I'll just call it W, and then the content from word, we can use the slice and slicing it from position 1. And then taking the temporary array and using the push method, push the value of W back in. And that's going to be resulting in just the lowercase of the remaining words content. So we also want to convert this to lowercase. So add in that method. And this is just in case some of these letters, maybe they're going to be uppercase. And we want to convert it all into a capitalized case. So removing out any of the uppercase characters, and that's where we can use the lowercase to transform the word content. So next remaining is that we need to take the value that we have output into the console and join it together with what we have with the remaining part of the word. So doing that, we can just concatenate it together. And now the result for W should be a capitalized version of the word. And get rid of the console message as we don't need it anymore. And you can also shorten this where you don't actually need the variable. You can simply just push the result there that's capitalizing the word and return that back into the capitalized version of the word. So let's say you can make a capitalized version of the word using the string methods. There's also ways to get the index values of strings, just as we saw with arrays. So we can use the index of, which is going to find the first occurrence of the specified string. So in this case, we have 2 letter E's. So let's go ahead and we'll find the first occurrence of it. So set the value of val, and using the full name string, getting the index of, and whatever character that we want to get the index of. So in this case, we want to get the index of E. So it's going to return back an index value of 7. So that's going to be where the index of E is occurring. You can also do the last index of. And just as we saw with the arrays, this is going to return back the last occurrence of it, the index value of the last occurrence of E. And because we have it uppercased here, it's not actually picking it up because it is case sensitive. So it's matching only that lowercase e. So we can also check just to make sure that everything is to lowercase before I try to do the match. And adding those in allows us to chain together and return back the index values accordingly. So now we're taking the full name, converting it to lowercase, and then at that point we're finding the last index of E. So this is going to be more accurate, and it's not going to be case sensitive, where the characters of the uppercase are going to be different from the lowercase. There's also a search for a string for a specified value and returns the position that matches. So let's return back the result, and once again using the full name, and then search, and searching for a value. So let's search for VE, and it returns back -1. So if these aren't found, the result will be -1. If it is found, then we can return back the index value. So if we convert this to the lowercase and we search for the VE characters, it's going to be able to find it. And the reason it wasn't finding it before was that this one was uppercase, whereas we were searching for all lowercase characters. So it is case sensitive on all of these when we are doing the string methods. And try it out and create a function, customized function in order to capitalize a word. Try out the lowercase, uppercase, replace all, and then getting the index values, and then also the slicing and the substring methods, and you'll be ready to move on to the next lesson.